Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review Friday the 13th, Part 3, A New Dimension in Terror.
Directed by Steve Miner, starring Dana Kimmell, Paul Kratka, Larry Zerner, and Richard Brooker as Jason. This movie's about a group of teens going to a cabin in the woods. They are stalked and killed one by Jason, a local serial killer, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with. This is a recommendation from Deke, our top donator over on Patreon. It seems like he's got us reviewing the Friday the 13th series in a really disjointed fashion. And because this is a popular franchise, most people have already seen this, so we're going to just talk about basically everything. If you haven't seen it, there will be spoilers here, so you are warned. What do we like? I like Jason in this one. I think we're gonna kick all of them off with that. Jason in this one was more like stealthy. He's the Sam Fisher of Jasons in the franchise. You can see him kind of like keeping his cool, waiting to strike. Specifically when Andy is doing his little handstand to get some beers for a pregnant woman. He gets sliced in half right in the nuts, which is really cool. But seeing Jason just waiting patiently for him to come down the hall is great. And then we see him again, like being very stealthy with Rick.
He kind of has that like Michael Myers feel in this one. I liked how they shot Jason. You didn't see his face for most of the film. It was just like kind of like him creeping in and out of doors, and it built up good suspense because there was a lot of fake outs. Other people would be jumping out and scaring you. Shelley, being a dick, was doing it an awful lot, but it did lead to a great moment where Shelley was walking around with his hockey mask and it gave Jason a new look.
And when he does first wear his mask, it's the most cool Jason moment because he just walks up nonchalantly with his harpoon in his hand.
What are you doing?
And in 3D, we see a harpoon hit Vera right in the face. And then he just drops the gun and just kind of strolls and struts away. It was fantastic.
I love the 3D element of this film because they tried so hard to make everything 3D. Always fun 3D where like stuff comes at you. This also gave us a great kill in Rick's death.
It also gave me one of my favorite moments in the franchise as well in the yo-yo. Because they're doing a cool 3D effect with the yo-yo and hits poor Debbie right in the goddamn face.
That was close.
And there's also some other like funny / charming imperfections about the 3D. Especially like the snake. You can clearly see he's just being pulled towards the camera with a fishing line. Not necessarily a dislike, but it's funny.
Okay, Chris. I realize I'm just a dumb country boy and my feelings really don't matter. But this is the sweat of a worker on my forehead, not of a lover.
I liked Rick. I think Rick is the coolest guy.
You don't think those like crazy badass bikers are the coolest guys?
Okay, Ali was kind of cool, especially when he looked like the junkyard dog with his chain and started busting up Shelley's car. Well, Rick's car, unfortunately. Yeah, they were cool, but Rick was so much cooler. The delivery of everything that he said was just like the nicest guy. And he's ripped to shit, so I'm sure everyone's like, whoa, look at this hunk. I think he was just like a really great character. Someone you can get behind, and when the death came, you're like, oh shit, not him. He's our final boy. Speaking of final boys, I think it's worth mentioning that it's really funny to see the stoner couple last so long.
They basically did nothing and survived. I really thought the pregnant couple was gonna like outlast them.
How do we do it?
Well, first we take our clothes off, and then you get on top of me, or I could get on top of you.
I knew Shelley was gonna bite the dust.
I didn't mean to. You never mean to.
So I was actually really happy when Shelley died. His character was a dick, and he deserved to die.
Stop fooling around, man.
He kind of did what I was hoping Corey Feldman did in the fourth a little bit. I wanted him to like pull pranks on the party goers. But here Shelley proved that this is a terrible idea because everyone hated him. So yeah, I'm happy that he died as well because he wasn't likable and he didn't really learn his lesson.
Why do you do these stupid things?
I just want you to like me.
I do like you, but not when you act like a jerk.
Everyone consistently told him he's being a shitty person and he kept doing it.
I like the effort that he put through. Come on, who puts on like a full wetsuit and like finds a way to like swim under the water just to grab someone's foot?
Oh, I'm cringing at his whole idea of how he can try and get this girl's attention. And the moment that he's standing by the fireplace and he's just like, I like you. And I gotta tell you something. We're just like, no, please shut the fuck up. Oh, there are some pretty fun moments with the characters. And with the added 3D element, I think this was a unique entry in the franchise. Now, what didn't we like?
The story in this one is very, very weak. And you could tell they had an idea for this film that they're like, oh, we're just gonna continue off from the second. And then they were like, maybe not. Let's have new characters, new situations, and throw in a bunch of 3D. Just the buildup of all of our characters, it felt forced.
Especially because you don't really know Chris's backstory until like halfway through the movie. And then when she says what really happened and why she left her cabin, it's just such a cheap way to give our main character a backstory that ties her into the Friday the 13th franchise. Like it's just so tacked on.
The relationship that her and Rick have, also, there's no real backstory behind it. Like they make it seem as though like the two of them should have a stronger bond and connection in relation to Camp Crystal Lake. And that's not the case. Then you have all of the friends who die in a weird order and you don't necessarily care for them. I think out of all the people other than Rick and Chris, I care about the pregnant couple. And they were like dead pretty early.
And even speaking of that, that just seemed like such a forced thing to add to the movie as well. It's just like, by the way, I'm pregnant. She had to like really force it down our throats to make sure like, okay, yeah, we got it. You're pregnant. Just to show that Jason's like even more vicious than we thought he could be.
We would have been there already if some people didn't have to go to the bathroom every 5 minutes.
That's what happens when you're pregnant.
Going back to the characters, I didn't like Shelley. Like people say that they like him, but how? I don't get it. He's just a dick through and through.
God damn it, Shirley. Why do you always have to be such an asshole?
Like I wasn't laughing at him. I wasn't impressed by his juggling, especially when he was cheating in the juggling contest.
But he's just a dick. He's just like an asshole character. And I don't think that people should remember him. I will say that both the pre-title sequence showing the end of part 2 and also the post-title sequence where it shows like the little grocery store, I think both of those scenes were way too long for what they needed to be. Despite some of like the cinematography and the fun moments that we did have with the intro couple, I wasn't feeling it. I think it could have been way shorter. And a lot of other scenes in this movie I felt like kind of dragged. I don't know. I think it was just kind of disorganized. Like as a whole, it just felt weird.
Even how this film ended, given that we had Chris like on the boat and we have like the dream sequence or whatever you want to call it with her interaction with like Mrs. Voorhees in the water.
Which
like,
doesn't even make sense. She doesn't know who this is. So I don't know why she would have that in her mind.
And even just her leaving with the cops, like as like the lone survivor, as our like final girl, going crazy, like it doesn't show that she's like growing or strong. She actually comes off weaker by the end of this film.
Right, she was pretty strong by even this kind of exposure therapy by revisiting somewhere where she had a traumatic past, as shoehorned as it was. She was much stronger at the beginning, and despite me actually liking and enjoying like the cat and mouse game that she did have with Jason, I thought she was really great at that. You know, she stabbed him, she hung him, she did a lot of cool shit. She hit him in the head with the axe, which, you know, the mask stayed cut forever. But like, but she was good. She was good at what she was doing, and they made her much weaker just in like the final shots, which is strange. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. There was a long time in my life where I thought this was my favorite Friday in the franchise, and that has changed over the years. After revisiting this has a lot more flaws than I remembered. I did appreciate the 3D elements. I do think Richard Brooker did an excellent job as Jason. He looked cool. He had like no neck. He seemed more human because he was more aware of his surroundings, which is great because in the next films, he just walks through doors, doesn't give a fuck. So I did like him here, and it is great to see him get his iconic mask. So of course people are going to gravitate to the third film. However, I didn't really love the cast. It seemed like Chris, our main lead, just had a forced backstory. There are some enjoyable characters, like I liked Debbie, I liked Andy, and I liked our stoner couple. But I think number one for me is our hunk Rick, because he's just great. I wish he had a better standoff with Jason, but he served his purpose. Unfortunately, I hated Shelley. The deaths were cool, the music music was great, well above average. I don't think it's close to the best. So I'm gonna give this 3 3D joints out of 5.
I always enjoy a good Friday the 13th, but with part 3, there's some things that just feel off. And I think it has to do with the story. It's not to say that it's bad, because I had fun watching it. I like seeing Jason do some cool things. And in this one, he was very unique in his characteristics. And even how the cinematography was shot in this one, you actually got to see him like creeping in the shadows. So it's a different take, and I like that. We did get some great kills, but the best feature in this film has to be the 3D. Whether it's them taking like a broomstick and pointing it to the screen, or a really cool title sequence, I just loved the campy 3D nature of this film. And you could tell that's where they put all the effort in, because our characters really had bad backstories. They died in a weird order when it came to their development, and it ended in such a way that our final girl comes off weaker as opposed to stronger. But then again, it's Friday the 13th, so most people watching this series are not dissecting it for its plot and character development. They're enjoying it for the kills, and that's what this film does have. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 2.5 hey girls out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, links are in the description. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with everything Bloodbath and Beyond.